Hello, it's Arthur. It's the morning of my final day at home with my parents, and so I wanted to do with you guys something I do almost, say, annually when I visit home, which is look through this box here that I keep, which is the one box of sentimental items I allow myself. I have a lot of friends and relatives who are like quasi-hoarders, where they just fill their closet to the brim with participation awards from 2nd grade, and I, since maybe 6th grade, have allowed myself just this one box. So every so often I'll cull through it and like throw out things that are no longer meaningful and add my new sentimental items. But yeah, it's got a lot of good memories from my childhood, so this is gonna be like a kind of unscripted video, but I'm gonna show you guys some photos of myself from when I was a kid, talk about what it was like growing up as a kid who would eventually become a transgender adult. Alright, so I don't really have much of a plan for how this video will go. I'm always kind of surprised when I look at this box again. I know that this little amazing, very masculine box will end us out, which is where every year I would write a letter to myself. We have a kurti, which is a like sort of Indian shirt that I wore when I studied abroad in India. It was my favorite one, though now it's kind of like gotten yellow. I might honestly throw this out. I think I had some sort of delusions that I would wear it again, but I don't know what sort of white kid is gonna wear a kurti in the US. That's sort of bizarre. Okay, I have this little photo album. Let's see if I can find a cute photo of young me. There are lots of trans people, understandably, who don't like showing pictures of themselves pre-transition. But I don't know, I have a lot of respect for my younger self, and so I actually feel very like affectionate looking at these photos because I think it's pretty sick that, I don't know, I grew up this kid and I turned out this kid. So this is me probably when I was 5 or 6. I was really into Lilo and Stitch, and so Stitch was like my absolute favorite stuffed animal, and I sort of, he was sort of like childhood best friend, like the imaginary friend kind of stuff. I would talk to Stitch for advice, all that stuff, business. Oh, it's a terrible photo of my childhood dog. Here I am again. I was in Girl Scouts. This is one of those things that like when I'm actively avoiding referencing that I'm transgender to people, Girl Scouts is the thing that I have to avoid bringing up a lot because I did that as a kid, and that's not normal for men. Here I am, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm making a birthday cake actually for my dog, where these are like it was like a pile of the liquid dog food and the little sticks we put on top. I think that it definitely was unsurprising that I would go into transition. I don't know that I would say I had a boy child or anything like that, nor was I like insanely gender nonconforming. My dad apparently suspected this because with when I was like 4 or 5, my childhood best friend, I would play this game with her that was called the brother-sister game, and the only point to this game was that she would refer to me as her brother and use male pronouns around me, so that was a little bit like, kids play games though. And I was really, really like opposed to dresses, so here I am, surprised to see this kind of photo, but looking very morose in some sort of dress. I was somewhat gender non-conforming, and then had my bouts of asserting that I was a boy. This is a cute story. I don't know if I'm just insane, but I actually have like I keep stuff from exes. I don't even know if I can call this guy an ex. This is from 6th grade. But this guy had a crush on me, and I had a crush on him too. So this is kind of convenient. And he knew that I really liked math, and so he like put these the box has like these now very long dead wildflowers in it. So he put wildflowers in it and then put it under my chair in band, 6th grade, and then he had this like note on it, which, I don't really know how to get this to focus, but basically on this note is a bunch of random chicken scratch math because he knew that I liked math, and it was like A = 1, B = 2, C = 3, like you're supposed to decode it and get his name, and instead you get like nonsense because he didn't do, what do you call it, PEMDAS, parentheses, X, whatever, that whole thing. I did not do that correctly. So that was really funny. And then I was really into him, and I assumed he knew that I felt the same, so I just approached him and was like, by the way, your math's wrong. Turns out that was not a good way to let someone know that you feel the same. We did go out. So far 6th graders go out with each other. Here's a photo of preschool, little me. I'm in a dog costume right there. A little story I made in Russian. I was really into self-studying languages. Did that all by my lonesome. Forgotten all Russian since. I took 2 years of it in high school too, so that's a bummer. This is it says, April 8th, 2009 is the day I started flute, because I was under the impression I would just always keep playing it. Nope, stopped in college. Yeah, so a lot of you guys know that I have cut my hair 3 times in my life. The first time I was in 5th grade. I don't know, those photos are still somewhere in here in this box, haven't found them. 5th grade, first time. Liked passing as a boy, then got to middle school and was like, I don't want to be ugly, and passing as male means you're ugly, so I grew my hair out. Then cut my hair again in high school. Same sort of amazing revelation about wanting to be hot. But yeah, so there's these photos of me from prom I went to where I have short hair in this, but I'm like really trying to like doll myself up. Let's see, I honestly don't know how to operate cameras, but anyways, I'm the one in the silver. Let's see, maybe if I hide myself, will it focus? I don't know, whatever. You're here for my lovely commentary, not my amazing videographer skills. Some cute, I went to a bunch of summer math programs, as economists do, so I have a lot of wholesome mementos from that, which don't make for very good stories. I'm just a nerd, which you all know. Oh, this is a photo of me when I was a 7th grade, like, I was a, what do you call it? My school did this thing where, you read to, like, 2nd graders. 7th graders read to 2nd graders, like a mentorship thing. I think, so it's this funny thing where, like, when I transitioned, people who knew me in college, I was, like, super high femme, and, like, people were like, oh my god, like, you look radically different. But people who knew me just from my youth, like, yeah, I have, like, longer hair, amazing middle part going on here. I loved button-downs even then, as you can see I'm wearing, like, this button-down. I think I look like incredibly similar. Like, my facial structure, same. Oh my god, I love home I wrote. Wow, this is, I'm so happy I found this one. So, my more avid viewers will know that I'm gay, but that this was a bit of a process for me, because I'd identified as bisexual for like a decade or something. I honestly don't know what to make of this. I just don't really care anymore. Like, did testosterone make me gay? Is it that the idea of pursuing women as a man feels wrong? I have no idea, and I don't know. I'm just not too attached to finding deep meaning in these things anymore. I like men, and that's that. But have a lot of fondness for 13-year-old self, 14-year-old self, 14-year-old self, when I was first discovering one queer label. So I had this crush on my best friend's older sister, very dramatic, was convinced she was queer. My mother thought the same and said I should ask her out, which would have been stupid because she was a senior and I was a freshman, or senior, junior, I don't know. It was not gonna happen, even if she was gay. Like, I don't know, gay 18-year-olds don't date 14-year-olds, mom. But I wrote this amazing poem for her. I didn't give it to her for my private reflections about her. It's called Cold and Wet, and I definitely did not mean that to be an innuendo of any sorts, but anyways. I remember the day it was raining, so loud the droplets sounded like a drum roll. We were already wet, and the thick warmth inside offered escape. I would have stayed there for hours, a squirrel waiting for winter to end. But you wanted to go outside. You said it was because the air felt good. You raised your arms to the sky as it fell in pieces, splattering on your hands. And I remember your eyes were as bright as the vivid darkness of the clouds. I stood there in the cold, shivering. And you were in the smell of the air before lightning strikes. Pitter patter, pitter patter. I could stay with you forever, and that would be all right. Very dramatic 14-year-old. I had these very intense kind of fantasy worlds that I would develop. This was definitely, I mean, insofar as trans childhood things, I always was, you know, role-playing as male characters and that kind of thing. And in my creative writing, that was one way I managed to accomplish that. I guess I won't show this because it's a little too revealing of, no, you guys know I'm from Maine. I've been fine with that, yeah. Grew up in Maine. Anyway, so this is a Maine baseball team. I was so into this like one very going nowhere baseball player, Juan Apodaca. It's funny, I still remember that. And I do think, in hindsight, that this was a little bit of a like, I don't know, I've never been a sports person, but I think that this was the event for my 5th, 6th grade self to express a little bit of masculinity. And so I started getting really into it. I would wake up every day and like look at the baseball news and whatever. And I remember thinking at one point, like, whatever happened to that? Because I'm like really not into sports. And then there's this very sad thing where like my parents would always let me choose like 1 or 2 summer camps to go to. Our local school was advertising a baseball camp. And typically if the camps were like single sex, they would like say that. And this camp did not say that. But I guess it was because it was presumed that if you're signing up for a baseball camp, you must be a 9-year-old boy or whatever, 11-year-old boy, however old I was. So I was the only not boy there, and it was horribly embarrassing. In part because I was the only one, but also just because, like, I wasn't actually that strong, and I think I was at the age where it did kind of strength differences between males and females were hitting, and so I couldn't really throw as far as the boys, and it was just bad. And then the coach said that I should consider softball, and that was just like, I wasn't going for soft. I mean, I don't like sports. I was going for like, I don't know. I did, I think, on some level want to be one of the boys, even in 5th, 6th grade, and so that was, there went all my baseball things. Never again. Who knows? Yeah, maybe there's a world in which if I had like had a killer. I can't even come up with a baseball joke here. But anyways, if I was really good and fit in very well on that team, maybe today I would be one of those sports gays. Who knows? But alternate lifetime, right? This is a photo album filled with, we would always go up camping in northern Maine. That's me. I had pigtails. I didn't like the pigtails ever. Oh my god, a novel I wrote in 8th grade. Iconic. This was featuring a male main character, as one would guess, given my proclivities. But I decided to write because I was in 8th grade. It was the main character is a black guy who's adopted by Asian parents, but for some reason they all have very white last names. So that was an amazing, amazing cultural work I put together there. Dark chocolate that I've hoarded that a friend gave me after a breakup. I think I was very touched by that gift. Novel I wrote in 5th grade. That one is obviously not high quality. It is essentially a knockoff of all those dystopian novels. Everyone is either an elf or a wizard, but this character is half elf, half wizard. Oh my god, this is so funny. This is a birthday card from my freshman year boyfriend. That didn't end well. Okay, this doesn't actually inspire as many feelings as I thought it would. It's kind of very much how I remember that relationship. He was talking about us playing poker together, which we did. Yes. This is a real classic here. So my grandfather was always into, I mean, like, not out of ill intent, but like, you know, didn't know me particularly well, and so he'd be like, okay, like, what do I get my young granddaughter? Something with princesses. I was so against princesses, oh my god. But in this journal, I had journaled like 3 pages. I think that it was just an iconic 3 pages to discover. So in it, I declare several important things. So I say, my wish would be that it would be like that I would be in Lilo and Stitch, but the same things, no, but the things that are my mom, my dad, and my sibling are the same, and my school are the same, and when Stitch is here, I want to marry Stitch. I also wish that it would be Lilo and Stitch and half Scooby-Doo. And then I drew this little, right here, oh my god, I drew a world that I think is supposed to symbolize half the world is Lilo and Stitch and half the world is Scooby-Doo. After all that deep commentary about my desire to marry Stitch, then I say something that, this part I'll interpret very deeply, the other stuff I'll discount. But anyways, I say, I am more like a boy than a girl, because I don't like things like Barbies. Anyways, I do think that this is not like, you know, that writing in itself does not mean that I was going to transition, but I do think this is funny that among the set of things I chose important to write, one was that I didn't seem like a girl, with my amazingly woke gender logic there. Get some high quality drawings from my youth. Oh, a note saying the first day I started the tenor saxophone. Also didn't keep that one up. Bummer. Signed baseball from my baseball days. Man, what if I got back into baseball? That would be wild kind of events. So I had this very fateful summer fling. Summer after my senior year of high school. I was convinced at one point, I was working as a camp counselor, and at one point I had to stay overnight in a hotel on camp counselor related duties, and they had these like mini bottles of champagne in the hotel, and I was convinced that it smelled like the room of the guy that I was hooking up with, and so I was like, well, I obviously have to keep this. And after that summer fling ended amazingly, no it didn't, after it ended terribly, I would just like dramatically smell those bottles from time to time and be like, oh my god, like the good old days. Funny. So I mentioned this in some cases that I thought about transition in high school. I didn't transition in high school. And nowadays there are lots of kids who are transitioning younger than I did, which is cool. And I think in many cases, like, totally going through the checkpoints to make sure that this is a good choice for these kids. But there are also surely plenty of kids who will grow up to be trans adults who are not transitioning, or who, you know, are thinking about transitioning in high school and are like, maybe I actually don't want to. I have absolutely no regrets from not having transitioned as a high schooler. I don't think I was there yet. I think that for me, a like really important part to my transition was making sure that I was doing it, like, when I say for the right reasons, I don't mean like I was always doing it for the right reasons, but there were points of time where I'd really tied gender feelings into broader notions of like society, where I was like, I really want to be attractive, and like I really want to be well liked and all that stuff. And I am happy that I ultimately got to the place where my transition was like not linked to the desire to be attractive and well liked. It was a lot more about a sort of personal feeling about how I wanted to interact, you know, as a man. And I think that I wouldn't have like regretted my transition had I transitioned as a kid, but I would have missed out on like a lot of the most important things that I got out of my transition. And yeah, so I guess what I am trying to say is that like, if you're someone who wants to transition but it's not going to happen right now, that there are plenty of reasons why you might be something that you'll look back on one day and be like, oh, like, yeah, like I'm living a totally different life than I lived then. That was one time in my life, this is this time in my life, and like there are reasons to not transition or to wait. There are reasons to wait to transition, even if you are a trans person. And I think that in particular, I was a very, very like stubborn middle schooler, high schooler, which was great. Like I would latch onto something, say learning Russian, and then a whole summer I would only learn Russian. And this was cool because then I would say like place out of Russian 1, which I don't know, that's kind of impressive that a 16-year-old could just sit themselves down and learn Russian 1 over the summer with no help. Cool. Or like I would like self-study a lot of math. Like that was something I would get so like fixated on. And I'm happy that that would have happened with my gender if I transitioned as a kid. I just know how I am. I know that I would have been so like way too into it. It would have been like consumed my entire thought process, and I just wouldn't have had a healthy way of handling it. And I feel this a lot even being home right now, where like I don't have like agency anymore. I mean, that's dramatic, but like I'm excited to go back, right? Like I love my parents, but like there's something wonderful about not having to ask for permission to like get snacks. I get to choose when I eat, choose when I wake up, you know, choose to go to the gym, whatever, all that stuff. But when you're a kid, you don't like have all that, even if you're 17. I think that like without that like total freedom to like I just do so many things in my life right now. I don't think I'm particularly fixated on any one item, because I am making friends, I'm dating, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing economics, I'm like doing creative pursuits, like I'm doing all the things, versus like in high school you just like, you don't have as many choices. So these are the letters that I would write to as a young person. I'd write a letter each year. I mean, even recently. Ideally, if I had more time, I would write one this year, but I have to leave imminently. So I'd write these letters, and often in them they would be like incredibly focused on like one particular thing. So I think this is the first letter. So I write, my name is dead name, or no, I don't say dead name. My name is birth name, weird. I am 10 right now. I will be 11 in a little while. My favorite color is royal blue and lime green. My friends are, names a bunch of people. My crushes, name someone. My mice are, I had pet mice, yeah. Queenie and Twitch Tip. That's like a crazy name. My teacher is teacher. My favorite subjects are math, writing, and social studies. I mean, that's like all the subjects, so. And then I write, my name is, and I repeat it, and I say, please remember me, and I draw this incredibly creepy image. But yeah, then as I got older, these letters were like a little bit more substantive. Like as an example, I would, and they would always again be so fixated. Like I would write one that was just like, everything is going wrong because I didn't get into the right math class or whatever. Or this really iconic one from from the summer that I had that terrible fling where I write, dear future birth name, be grateful. I've learned this summer love isn't just about finding the right person and working to make each other. Love is an opportunity that the universe gives you, and it can be taken away at any moment. Crazy. But I did have this letter that I thought was kind of interesting to discover from, I guess it was my senior year of high school. All right, future birth name. I really hope you figured out who you are by now. Who you are by the time you're reading this. Right now, I'm having a moment of questioning my gender. Very similar to my freshman year when I was questioning my sexuality. The conclusion I've come to is that I'm a girl who, quote, plays with masculinity and femininity. What I've observed is that I do many typically feminine things, like paint my nails, wear dresses, and apply makeup, yet I do these feminine things in a somewhat masculine way. Yeah, and then I mean, like, that doesn't really make any sense. I don't know what it means to do nail polish and makeup in a masculine way. I mean, I think I know what I meant was that I was wearing makeup, but I felt like a boy, even as I wore makeup. But I didn't have the words for that at that point. And then towards the end I say, okay, literally as I was pausing from writing this, I was overtaken by a moment of clarity. I was imagining my future. like a WikiHow article for how to determine if you're trans, suggested, lol. And saw myself in a gorgeous office. I was wearing a women's suit and I was gorgeous and powerful looking, and the men in my office wanted to sleep with me. I mean, yeah, just knowing myself now and the amount of reflection I've done, I know what that means is that I realized I wanted to be successful and desirable, and that meant I couldn't be a trans man, which is a bummer to think about now. But, you know, that's where my head was at that moment. I mean, I still want to be in a gorgeous office wearing a suit. I mean, I don't know that I want the men in my office to desire me, but I want to be desirable. I think I had an overall good childhood. I was bored at times, but it was pretty good. I think of my childhood, I don't know, I think of myself as having maybe a trans childhood, or certainly like a queer childhood, but also certainly a female childhood. I experienced a lot of the things that queer or nerdy females get socialized as growing up, and that's like, I don't know, real part of my past. And I have a lot of, yeah, as I said, fondness for those memories, but I'm happy I'm an adult now. It's cool to like look back on those times of like real doubt and real questioning I had when I was 16, 17, and now be an adult and like be like, I figured it out. Like that was that. I just wasn't there yet. I hadn't lived enough of life to like understand these things. I mean, if you think of it, I think of gender as largely sort of a social role and social construct, all that, and if the social world you've existed in is just high school, like, yeah, you're kind of inherently confined to a very niche, tiny view of things, and I needed to see more of the world, I think, before this stuff would make sense. And then it did make sense. And there are plenty of kids for whom, like, it's obvious when they're 5 years old, and like they play the brother-sister game and they just don't stop playing the brother-sister game. But there are plenty of us for whom, you know, you go through waves up and down, and it takes until you settle into your like big kid life that like things make sense. And I think, yeah, stuff should be individual. There, like the right time to transition really just depends on who you are and where you are in life. I feel an immense pride and compassion for my younger female self, and I'm really happy that things worked out the way that it did.